You want to know what authority really looks like? Let me tell you about a Thursday morning in Detroit when two officers strolled into Judge Clarissa Benton's courtroom like they owned the place and walked out knowing exactly who did. You ever see a room freeze, just waiting to see who blinks first? Yeah, that happened, and no one has forgotten it since. Detroit's 36th District Courthouse isn't the kind of place you'd put on a postcard between a pawn shop and a diner that's been shut since '09, tile floors that haven't shined in years, and lights buzzing overhead like the city never quite wakes up. But for Judge Benton, it was her home turf, and she wore that black robe like armor, always arriving before the sun, coffee from Perry's in hand, nodding at the bailiff. She actually trusted Janelle Ruiz. No chit-chat, just business. That morning felt off in the jump cold, drizzly April. 3 cases, nothing big on paper, but you know how sometimes the air gets heavy for no reason you can name? The first case was supposed to start 9. Taylor, young guy, barely more than a kid, still bruised from his arrest, sitting beside his public defender. DA rushing in late. Apologies flying, only the arresting officers were missing. Clarissa didn't have to check her watch to know this wasn't a mistake. It was a move. When the officers finally did show, they came in like they were clocking into a bar, not a courtroom Sergeant Tom Redding, broad, 40-something, the kind who'd let his badge do the talking, and Mike Halpern, chewing gum, posture loose like he was waiting for happy hour. No epali. Not even a look at the judge. Just traffic and a sure thing, ma'am. Tossed her way like calling her your honor was too much respect for one day. You know what I mean? Clarissa leaned into the silence. Let the record show the officers arrived 7 minutes late. Addressed the bench properly in future. That means, Your Honor, it wasn't just about formality, it was about the way small digs, small slights, are aimed to remind you whose world you're living in. But she'd heard it all before, the thinly veiled disrespect, especially from men who thought authority sounded like volume. But today, something stung deeper. Maybe it was Taylor's swollen face, or the way Halpern slouched against the wall, daring her to react. They gave their version: suspect loitering, refused ID, resisted, minimal force. She pressed for detail. Standing outside a gas station, public sidewalk. The answers came slick, rehearsed. No complaint from the owner. No call for service. Just a patrol check. So you saw a young black man alone and decided he looked suspicious. Clarissa didn't need to say it, but the point hung there like a storm cloud. She ordered the body cam footage, made it clear, no tape, no trial. You'd think that'd end it, but Redding couldn't help himself, muttering, "This is what happens when they let activists wear robes." Loud enough for every mic to catch. Clarissa didn't even blink, just had the gallery cleared. Left herself, Ruiz, and the 2 officers. She took off her glasses, stood up, and in that moment, you could feel the shift. No yelling, no threats, just quiet, measured power. You don't have to like me. You don't even have to agree with me. But you will respect this court, and you will respect this city. She laid it out for them, not with a bang, but with a steady gaze that didn't flinch. And if they couldn't handle it, find another job. One that doesn't involve a badge and a weapon. The air was so thick you could slice it. And suddenly, even Halpern stopped chewing. Wordless, the gallery filed back in. Something had shifted. People sat straighter, even the ones used to tuning out. But in Detroit, real respect doesn't stick after one speech. It takes more than a gavel. All day, those officers kept poking, trying to get her to slip-drop papers, snide laughs, making her repeat instructions. Clarissa kept her head down, her tone even, never rising to the bait, but inside, she knew. These weren't just games. They were warning shots. Later, in her chambers, she heard them talking in the hall. This one's just waiting for someone to call her Your Majesty. Watch her lose it. She didn't react. Just sipped her coffee, which was ice cold by then, and let every comment carve itself a place inside her. But every slight, every whisper, only made her sharper. Next day, an email landed on her desk from a civil rights attorney, body cam footage attached, sent by someone inside. Clarissa watched Taylor's arrest. No loitering, no resisting, just a kid waiting for a ride, forced face down on the pavement for existing in the wrong place. She felt the truth burn worse than she expected, and so obvious, she wondered if these men, thought no one would ever see. Court resumed, and she laid it out. Body cam footage contradicted officer testimony. Taylor released on his own recognizance. Redding tried to spin it tech issues. Sometimes the cameras don't sync. She cut him off. Thank you, Sergeant. That's all. But you could see the cracks forming. Halpern's voice shaky, his confidence gone, finally addressing her as Your Honor. Not a win, not yet, but a start. And outside, Detroit was watching local news, social media, everyone picking sides. In the hall, people started nodding at her, not out of habit, but out of something closer to respect. Inside, she knew the backlash was coming. Department statements, blog posts calling her anti-police, complaints filed by the very men she'd exposed. She didn't bite. Let them swing first. When she finally did speak, it wasn't for the press, it was on her own terms. One camera, one take. I wasn't elected to be liked, she said. I was elected to uphold the law. Dignity doesn't require volume, just principle. The video exploded online. Some called her a hero. Others accused her of being soft on crime. But everyone was watching. As the weeks passed, the system tried to swallow her investigations. Press conferences, cold shoulders from officers who used to nod in the hall. But Judge Bennon kept showing up, kept her row-pressed, kept her words precise. By the end, the complaint against her was quietly dismissed. The officers reassigned, Taylor's record sealed, civil suits moving forward. No one said sorry. That wasn't the point. Before the headlines moved on, before the city's attention drifted to the next fire, Clarissa found herself in a classroom, telling high schoolers the truth. Scared doesn't mean unqualified. It means you care enough to know what could go wrong and strong enough to show up anyway. And when a student asked her to sign his notes, she wrote, "Hold your ground even when no one claps." The cameras left, but the message stayed. The point wasn't winning a news cycle. It was making the robe mean something, so that the next person who wears it doesn't have to fight just to be heard. That's the fight that matters, the one that doesn't end with applause, but with the quiet, relentless work of making justice real, one room at a time. If you're moved by stories like this, share your thoughts. What does respect look like where you live? What would you risk for real justice? Let's talk about it.